We're talking about career goals that stick. So I'm going to go straight into it. So this is 2025. We really, really want to make sure that we have career goals. As Bayo said, a lot of the reasons why people are unhappy, it's usually tied to your career. I think there's statistics out there that says that we spend majority of our lives at work. Whether we like that job or not, you're at work literally, I think like 60 to 70% of your life. So it's very important that when you're in this office or in this environment, you're actually doing things that you love, you're doing things that you enjoy, you're doing things that really, really makes you happy, things that fulfill your purpose. But these things, the things that you want to happen, don't just happen by magic. You need to make sure that you are very conscious and you're going at it with a plan. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And before we go any further, I want to make sure that I have the right audience. So, like I said, please participate. We're going to have polls, questions. I'm looking at the comments to make sure that people are talking to me. So please don't air me. It's very important that we're all talking to each other and we're all on the same page. So that's our, if we had to sign like some kind of contract, that's what we would be saying. So the first question I want to ask everyone is, how would you describe thinking about 2025 and your career in 2025 in one word? How would you describe what your career is giving you? What vibes are you getting career-wise? If you can just pop something in the chat, or if you want to unmute your mic and talk to me as well, that's okay.
Someone said, Jane said ethic.
Okay.
Praise said the vibe is God abeg.
I
said audacious. Jane came again and said busy.
Okay.
Eunice says tough. So yes. Wow. And Somi said mixed bag.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you for participating. Great words. So tough, interesting, hectic, God abeg, interesting, mixed. Okay, thank you so much. For me, I think so far it's like one word that I want 2025 to be is ease for me, but interesting. Let's see how we can turn all those mixed bags into, positive words like amazing, confident, all of those things. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So thank you so much for sharing. Before I go any further, let me introduce myself so that everybody knows who I am and who you're talking to. So my name is Shay, and this is my real face, even though throughout this presentation, you'll be seeing the animated version of me. I love animations, like I said at the start, so I like to use it whenever I can. My name is Shay, and I like to describe myself as someone who is evolving. I think that throughout my career, and you'll see a little bit more on the next couple of slides, I have evolved from industries into different career kind of opportunities. And I love and embrace that about myself. I like the fact that, I can be doing something today and then a totally different thing tomorrow. I actually think that that's probably one of the most exciting things about the life that I live right now. And a lot of these, you'll see when I start to talk through all of the different steps, that a lot of it has just been very kind of unintentional, but also intentional at the same time. And the purpose and the importance of it is just to show that whatever your career goals are, it is valid. Whether it is to pivot, whether it's to change industries, whether it's to change, whatever, you absolutely can do it. And I can tell you for free because I've done it before. So let me talk you through the roadmap of my life till, to where we are today. And obviously I'm evolving. Who knows what's going to come next? But just like most people on this call, I am Nigerian, lived in Nigeria all my life, went to Covenant University. I did my primary, secondary education, everything in Nigeria. Went to Covenant University, like most people on this call as well. When I was in Covenant University, I studied mass communication. And the reason why I studied mass communication was I was obsessed with advertising. Like right from a very early age, I knew that I wanted to work in advertising. It's always been an industry that I've loved, embraced. And, I literally used to have like, advertising images and videos saved just, to go back to them. So I really, really love that. And in Nigeria, I think there was only one university at the time that was offering advertising as a course. It was, I think, Unsuka. So if you wanted to do advertising, mass broadcasting, journalism, and all of that, you had to study mass communication. So that's why I studied that course. So did 4 years, ended up then working in PR. which was the closest I could get to advertising for a company called the Quadrant Company, which is part of Troika Holdings. So if you've ever heard the name Biodun Shobanjo, he's the chairman of that group. So I did that, then decided that I wanted to do my master's because PR wasn't quite advertising. So I decided to move over to University of Leeds, where I did my master's in advertising and design, back to my dream of advertising. Finished that, then started to try and get into advertising, and guess what? It did not work. I tried and tried and tried. While I was trying, of course, I had to eat and pay bills. So I started doing a couple of jobs here and there. So I worked at Sky, worked at Nationwide. All through this journey, I didn't realize, but what I was learning was how to cope within a new environment, how to adapt to this new career, industry that I found myself in, and also exploring what kind of other opportunities that were available. So I've worked in, Sky, Telco, Nationwide Building Society, which is again in the financial services. Then I moved to Barclays, worked there for about 5 years, still in the UK, still working, not yet in advertising, by the way, but, I was working. And it was somewhere along this line, I transitioned into being a product manager. And that's a role in tech that is, it's a role that I really, really enjoy. But if you had asked me when I was in Covenant University around this point, did I want to be a product manager? I'll have said never. I didn't even know what it was. I don't even know if it existed at the time. But I was able to transition, throughout this journey into product management, working for Barclays, which is, an amazing, amazing financial services company. Then I moved from there to British Telecoms, again, another telco company, similar to Sky, but not quite exactly the same. There, I looked after a lot of products from identity and access management. So again, branching into slightly different industry. So just very interested in terms of the transition there. I did not study how to code. I'm not a software engineer by any chance, but here I am looking after, a core tech product, which again, a lot of people, if I say to you, can you see yourself as an IDAM specialist? You probably say never. I've done it before. And in fact, it's because of that that I ended up getting the job that I'm doing now. So somehow I found myself being labeled as some kind of specialist, specialist product person, which is funny, considering that that wasn't even my original plan. In between that journey, also discovered, everybody is a member of Covenant University Alumni Association, but you know how it goes. I wasn't a huge fan, I won't lie, of the association. There was an opportunity that came up. I was nominated, then became flight lead somewhere in between this journey. That helped me discover, another side of leadership as well, which I'll talk about as we go through in today's journey. And currently I work for Tesco. I'm leading a product team and helping shape some of our biggest tech products across. So the reason I'm showing this is not to brag or to show you, like look at me or whatever, but it's just again to just reassure you that wherever it is that you are today, whatever version your version of advertising is today, it's possible for you to transition from one industry to another. It's possible for you to move with a degree in mass communication to start looking after a tech product. It's absolutely possible. You just need to make sure you have the right goals, kind of goals that stick, and the kind of goals that can take you to whatever that desired end is. So that's the whole point. So we've established it's possible for you to pivot, it's possible for you to transition. It's literally, don't, if anybody ever tells you, oh, it's impossible, don't believe them. They're lying. The difference is, are you able to do it with the right set of goals? Do you have the right mindset, and are you able to give yourself what you need? So we're going to play. Thank you, Jane. Thank you. We're going to play a little bit of a game, and I'm doing this because I want to launch into something that I call career truths. And I just want to prove to you how valid these things are. So I'm going to need someone to come off mute. So start thinking, if you're a bold, brave person, start thinking of how you might unmute yourself and join me. In fact, if you're interested, just put your hand up, even without knowing the game that I want to play. If you're interested, just put your hand up and let's see. Do I have any takers? Any volunteers? Don't be shy. If not, I'll just pick somebody at random. Or anybody. Who wants to play my game? You don't even know if I have a prize. These people. Wow. Okay. Thank you, Sandra. Amazing. Sandra, is this the same Sandra from the HR group?
One and only. Hi, Shay.
Amazing. Hi, nice to meet you finally. Thank you. Thank you for joining and thank you for volunteering. Thank you, Fisayo. Keep your hand up. I'll come to you next because we're going to play this game together. Don't run away, Fisayo. Okay. Thank you, Sandra. Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. Okay. So the game I want to play, I want to prove to you how important image is. So we're going to go to this slide. Do you know these two people or one of them? Do you know them?
Yes, I think I know both of them. I'm more familiar with Maraji.
You're more familiar with Maraji. Okay, why do you think that is?
Because I've been in her space several times and I also like her content. I think they're very rich and original. I know the other
Okay,
person is Lee, but yeah, Maraji is what pops at me.
interesting. Okay, and who do you think Maraji is? Since you know her that well, who is she from your perspective?
Uh, I know her that way. But I do know that, a rich content. I know she's married with a child. I know that her content is tailored towards trying to make people's life richer, through comedy, through reality. Yeah, and
Okay,
I know she has one different hat, but
okay.
yes, that's what I know of her.
See, did you please, everybody should pay attention. Did you see how Sandra described Maraji? You used the word rich. What else did you say when you were describing her content? You said rich and another word. I missed it.
I don't know, but I
Okay.
can't remember the specific one, but I
He
think
said
that
original, original. I heard
Original.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
is listening.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sandra. Everybody, please clap for Sandra. It takes a lot to be the first person to unmute your mic. She didn't even know what game we were playing. So thank you. Thank you so much, Sandra. Thank you. I'll go to someone else, but we're going to keep doing this throughout this presentation because it's going to be interactive and I'm trying to make a point. So I'm going to go to somebody else next. Same thing. Fisayo, thank you for putting your hand up. Jane, don't put your hand down. I'll come to you as well. Hi, Fisayo. Can you unmute your mic? Oh, I can hear you now,
Can you
Fisayo.
hear me?
Hi. Yes, I hear you now. How are you?
Hi, good.
Good.
I'm
Okay.
good,
I have
good.
a feeling.
Afternoon, evening.
Oh, good afternoon. I'm guessing you're in, let me guess, Canada or somewhere like that.
I'm adjusting for the time zone I think you're in.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. I like you're very coded. Okay, all right. Okay, I think I know you, but let's keep that part. It's okay. Okay, so same thing like Sandra. Who do you recognize on this screen?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I do recognize. Yeah, I can. I do recognize Maraji also.
Okay, and why? What do you think she does? Who is she? Tell me about her.
Hmm. So from my perspective, when I started following Maraji, I think maybe 7, 8 years ago. At first, it felt like just someone that was interested in creating content, making people laugh, a comedian. But then it kind of evolved to someone who has a message or a story to share, like a perspective or opinion she wants to bring into the world, and is using the platform that she has built over the years to do that. So it evolved from, a more um casual, maybe spontaneous thing to a very, very intentional positioning. So I think she's a lady with a message who, yeah, she's a lady with a message who has convictions of how she believes a particular part of the world should be, and she uses the medium and audience that she has to pass that message across in an engaging and interactive way that she knows her audience wants to consume the message.
Very strong objectives. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Fisaya. That's amazing. Thank you so, so much. Still stick with me. I will come back to everybody at some point. Let's go to Faderi. Can you unmute your mic really quickly, and then we'll move on. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi. I'm gonna spice it up again. So I'm gonna move past this slide just so we do. So who do you recognize on this slide?
I recognize Ima, my God.
Okay. Same
Yeah.
brief. Tell me about him.
Okay, Ima, my God. I knew him from years ago when he just used to make music skits or funny videos using music, and from there he reformed his brand in such a way that he now makes gospel music in a Jelenke form. That's what he's majorly known for. So that's it. But I know from when I started following him, it started up with musical comedy.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. Please, everybody, please clap for Sandra, Fisayo, Fadering. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you, three of you. And I'm going to come around. I will aim to talk to as many people on this call as I can before the end of this session. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for putting your hand up. The reason why I showed you this, so I'm going to quickly introduce everybody just so that you know. So everybody on this slide, the slide here and the slide after, they're all alumnus of Covenant University. So all four of them graduated from CU. Of course, Maraji, everybody mentioned. We also have Chef Freggs, who is a chef. We have Akanani, this picture is quite blurry, sorry, who's an actor. And we have Ima, oh my God, of course, who is a music / content creator / everything. The reason I wanted us to do this is imagine yourself on a slide. So imagine one of these pictures was you, right? See the level of clarity. Imagine the level of confidence that Fisayo, Faderi, and Sandra used when they were describing these people. How would people describe you? So if I were to take your picture and put your picture on this slide, what would people say about you? And Jane, I know you put your hand down before, but I'm going to come to you if you don't mind. So if you don't mind, if you just unmute your mic for me, be the brave Jane that I know that you are. Jane, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Sorry, I'm going to put you on the spot. But imagine your picture was on here. What do you think people would say?
God, I'm big. Oh my God. I mean, I guess it depends on the audience. So maybe there's no clarity yet on what people would say.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it depends on who
Okay.
you
Imagine
ask.
these people are in the office, your office people.
Oh, in my office.
Mm-hmm.
In my office, the girl who came in shy, but then rose to the top in the company type thing. What else? Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Operations girl, boots on the ground type person. That's
Okay.
I don't know. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Sorry to pick on you, but thank you. Perfect. So the reason I did that was just the same way, we put all these people on the screen and everybody could identify them, whether you like it or not. When it comes to your career, people are putting your faces in rooms that you're not present in, and they are making decisions about your career growth and your career future. You may not know this and you may not be aware, but it's happening. It happens in every single industry. It happens in almost every month. It's probably happening right now, right? People are thinking, there's a new opportunity. Who can I put in there? Am I going to think of Jane? Or am I going to think of Fisayo? Am I going to think of Faderi? Am I going to think of, So these conversations always happen. So have a think about when your picture comes up in that conversation. What do you want people to think? What do you want them to take away about you? Does the thing that they're taking away, does it match the image that you're trying to project? Because sometimes there can be a mismatch. I love how Jane described, operations girl, boots on the ground, this, amazing. But, is that what you want to project as well? And that might be exactly what you want to project in the office, but you might actually be looking for something slightly different. So have a think about that. As we go through this, by the way, I won't call it homework, but I want you to be reflecting. So if you can have a pen, paper, your phone, laptop. We're going to be doing assignments as we go because this is a really practical session. So have post-it notes. I even have mine because I'm taking stuff away from people who are speaking as well. So please engage, make notes, write down. We're going to be doing our goals on this call to make sure that we walk away from here with practical solutions. So let's move on because of time. So before I jump into the goals thing specifically, I want to talk about 4 hard career truths. Now, there are more that I could have focused on, but I just want us to address these things because I think they're quite important for you to know about before you jump into your goals. Now, the first one is what we've just practiced, right? And this is from a book by Harvey Coleman. If you've read the book, please let me know in the chat because it's a very, very powerful book. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard so much about this framework that I'm definitely buying it and I'm going to read it. But if you've read it, please say you've read it in the chat so that we can see you, and maybe you can do a review for us or something. But this book talks about the organizational game revealed, right? And it talks about something called the PI framework. The PI framework is this logic that talks about 10% performance, 30% image, and 60% exposure, right? A lot of people get this confused to mean that you should only do 10% of the work. That's not true, right? What it actually means is imagine you do 10% of work in your office. Just imagine that the reason why they hired you was 10%, to come and do this 10% of work, right? It will easily be overshadowed by the image that you have, right? The image you have is maybe, like Jane said, people might say, okay, the girl who came in shy. That could be an image, for example. Exposure then is like the next thing that overshadows the image. So basically, if you do 10% of work, that 10% of work will be overshadowed by 30% image and 60% exposure. So what that tells me is I might be doing a great job, but if my image doesn't match something, that performance is overshadowed. And then exposure, if I'm not exposed, people are not even going to see the image, talk more of my performance. So I want you to think about that because this is the reason why the person that you think does not do a great job got promoted yesterday. That's pretty much the difference. How exposed do you think you are? So if I were to walk into your office, would you say that people know of you? Are they even aware of your existence? Do they know that you exist? And it's not just everybody being aware, it's the right people being aware as well. When they're aware, what image do they see? Does that image match the image that you want to project? Is that, the image that you want to see? I might be quiet, I might be shy, but actually when I'm at work, maybe I want to give boss lady, right? Maybe because I'm trying to advance and get to a certain career position. So the image that I want to project is very confident, strong, this, whatever, right? I might also want to portray quiet, reserved because that's what's needed for whatever it is that I'm going for. So have a think about that because what that also means is that if you're mindful about this framework, you will think very hard about the 10% of the work that you do. So you're not going to be the person who every single thing you put your hand up, right? You think about it very carefully. When they say, oh, I need a volunteer to do something, you already think and say, oh, does this thing give me exposure? Does this tie in with my image? If no, then somebody else can do it. But if it does, then your hand would be really, really high up. So have a think about that framework. It's one that a mentor of mine shared with me, and it's helped me a lot, literally in my career. And I would advise that everybody really, really takes this on. The next thing that I want to talk about is effort is not always equal to success. This is a hard truth, right? Some people are very lucky to work for companies that just identify that, this person is hardworking, and because I recognize that you're hardworking, I'm going to promote you. Well, shocker, in 2025, that's not always the case. You're very, very, very lucky if you work in a place where this still happens. You are literally the luckiest person on earth. Right now, it's the effort that you put in. Yes, it's important to do a good job, but it's not always balanced. So the fact that I put in 100% effort doesn't mean that my success is going to be 100%. Sometimes your 100% effort might match 10% success. So always think about that. So especially for us, Black people, immigrants, when we japa, we're always like, I'll do the work, I'll just put my head down and be doing the work. That doesn't help anybody. You just always remember, I'm not saying you should be lazy, I'm not saying you shouldn't do your job, but just remember that effort doesn't always equal success. So you want to really, really balance that out. Third one, really, really quickly, is that there is no perfect dream job, right? A lot of us are walking around, looking for this perfect job that I don't think really exists, if I'm honest with you. It really, really doesn't exist. You'll probably find 50%, 70% of a dream something in something, but there'll always be a 10%, 20% that you have to deal with. For example, you have to go into the office, right? That's a 10% eye roll. Like, oh, who needs that? For some of us, it's going to be there's that person in the office that you just cannot stand, and the person unfortunately is in your team, and it's what it is. So this idea of a perfect dream job, when you're thinking of your goals, please make sure that you're not in any kind of illusion. The concept of a perfect dream job just does not exist. You'll have to deal with office politics. Sometimes it's just what it is. Whatever it is, please come to terms with the fact that this job is not going to fulfill 100% of everything that I want. And I'll talk about when we go further about how sometimes there's space out there for you to get that thing that you're missing from your work in a way that actually advances your career. So don't be going to try and find 100% of everything in every single role, because you probably will get depressed. You'll be sad. Exactly what Bayo said at the beginning of this call. And the last one that I really want to leave you with, like I said, there are other career truths that I could have gone into, is that your boss is not your friend or your family. This one is funny. Your boss is your boss. I don't care how nice that person is. I don't care that the person is black like you or that it came from Niger State like you. Your boss is your boss, right? So be very, very, very careful, because whether you like it or not, your boss is going to have to make tough decisions one day. So what you want to always think about is, how am I presenting in front of my boss? I'm not saying that you should go and change the relationship that you have with your boss. Like maybe you and your boss are chatty, chatty, chatty. It's important. But just remember that they're not your friend or your family member, right? Your boss has a job to do, just as you have a job to do. So it's very important that when you're in the presence of somebody who is your boss, you need to think, what image am I giving that person? Am I giving my boss every single day? I'm like, oh my God, everything is so hard here. They will laugh with you and say, it's okay. But guess what? The next time there's an opportunity, do you think they're going to be thinking about you? Because all they know of you, the image they get of you every time is she complains, she complains, she complains. So when there's an opportunity to do good work, hard work, you're unlikely to be the person that they think of, because you've put yourself in this zone of, this person is my bestie, my friend, I can tell them anything, and blah, 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 blah. And like I said, if you're lucky enough to have somebody who is able to draw that boundary, but remember that your boss is making a mental note of your image, right? Because they want to look good as well. So just always remember that your boss is not your it's not your bestie, neither is the person your family member. Your boss is your boss. I have worked personally for bosses, and I'll give you personal examples as we talk through. I have worked for bosses who convinced me to stay in a role because they were going to be there with me and blah blah blah, and the next day they tell me they're leaving. True story. I have also worked with bosses who, in my face, they tell me, "Oh, you're amazing." Yeah, da, 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 da. Behind my back, in that room that I mentioned, they are not saying I'm amazing. They're saying something opposite. So you need to be aware of, this is what they call office politics to a certain degree. What is your boss? What is the image that you have in front of your boss? And what is that person projecting to other people? Very, very important. Everybody's quiet in the chat. So I'm like, is everybody here? Is everybody still listening? Do you relate with any of these truths? Have you had any experience? Please share in the chat so that I know. James, thank you. Thank you, Fisayo. So yeah, I just wanted to drop this before we jump into the goals thing. Time is flying. So we're we're taking notes. Thank you. Remember that your boss and colleagues are making mental notes of your image. Powerful so far, very helpful. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Okay, so all of that, the shalaye of everything I just said now, is that perception trumps reality, right? Even if you do an excellent job, which a lot of us will naturally do just by virtue of who we are, if your key stakeholders don't see it, your reality doesn't matter. I can walk around thinking I'm the best thing since sliced bread, I'm the best blah, 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 I'm the best whatever. If people don't see that, It doesn't really matter. So always think about that. There's your perception of your own life, of what you're projecting in your career. What are other people seeing? And does that image match what you want them to see? And how is that being exposed? Very, very important. Okay. So now we're going into the goals, the cocoa of the matter of why we're here. How many people set career goals on January 1st? Just do hands up on the chat. If you set up a career goal January 1st, can I see your hands up? One person. So you don't have any goals too. Okay. Anybody else? One person will put their hand down. So it's really only one person. Okay. 2 people, 3 people. Okay. All right. So not many of us are setting career goals. 4 people. Okay. That's not that okay, sorry. It doesn't have to be the exact day. Basically in January this month so far, have you set, if you've set a goal for your career this year, just put your hand up. 5 people. Okay, I'll go with 5. That's fine. I was gonna ask if you've forgotten what the goal is. So does December count? December counts as well. You are proactive, so that's nice. Actually, Somi, do you mind coming off mute?
Yes, sure.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No problem.
I like shaking things up. So what was your career goal, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, okay. So, this is kind of interesting. So I had a career goal it was actually around October, November time last year when I assessed my career, and I wanted to gain some new skills in solution architecture. So
Okay.
which comes with a new set of skills, certification, etc., and all that. So yeah, I decided on what I wanted it to be at the end of that, and so what do I need to do to become a solution architect? And I ended up writing out a few actions which I am working on as well.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. That's powerful. Thank you so much. So yeah, I mean, having goals, very, very important. And I love what Sami said, which is pretty much the whole point of today, right? Not only did he set goals, he also had action points. And I know he has been taking those actions because we've spoken about some of them just in passing. I didn't even know about this goal, but now that I reflect on some of our conversations, it makes sense. You know, when somebody's like, oh, I'm reading this thing, I'm doing this course, I'm like, I get it, right? So again, for you, like, it's important for you to think about those 5 people who put their hand up. What goals did you set, and have you forgotten about them, or are they still true? Do you still remember what they are? For everybody else who didn't set and put your hand up, that's okay. You can still set your goals, which is why we're here today. So don't worry, you're not in the wrong place. The reason I was going to go into the reason why some of your goals, the reason why your goals don't stick, essentially. So I'm just going to fly through this just because not many of us put our hands up. So if you're one of the 5 people and by any chance you've forgotten what your goals are, I'm just going to talk you through why potentially they don't stick. But even if you didn't set your goals, it's okay. Still pay attention because this will all obviously help you as you're trying to set your own new goals for your career as well. So the first reason why your career goals don't stick. What does it mean to stick? It means something that sticks means that it's glued. Like, you know, when I say gone body, it's like it's almost you, right? So if there's a goal that you've set and actually it doesn't feel like it's something that is yours, right? There's already a problem. So the first thing here is the reason why your career goals may not stick to you or may not stick, period, is because they're not yours. Now, let me paint a picture, right? A lot of us are on Instagram, TikTok, and whatever. Have you ever been in a moment where you see a video of somebody at like an amazing conference, like G7 or World Economic Forum or whatever, and you're just watching that video and you're like, this is me next year. In fact, it's so like you'll be so gassed by the video that you immediately, as you watch that video, you now go and look, you go to the website, check for how you can be at that specific event. A lot of times, right, when we do that, sometimes we're not really thinking, we're just reacting. And what you do in that kind of zone is you've just seen somebody in a moment, you've not really reflected about whether, okay, do I really want this thing? You might like something about what you're seeing, but sometimes you need to give yourself time to understand this thing I've just seen, this video of this person I've just seen at this G7 conference or whatever. Am I just inspired by what I've seen? It's not okay to copy and paste, because when you copy and paste goals like that, you miss the context. Context is probably one of the most powerful things as human beings that we can hold on to. Now, it might be that you seeing this person on stage, it might actually be that you liked the, you were interested in the attention that this person was getting. Maybe it was the number of likes that was blowing your mind, and you're like, I just want to be on a stage like this where everybody's like, I'm the one that is reigning. That might be what you're attracted to. It might not even be anything to do with the World 7, the background, the G7. That might not even concern you. It might actually be just the fairy around it. That might be what you like. It might also be the fashion sense of this person. It might be, oh my God, look at that Lady Bieber dress that they wore. Oh, I really, really want that, So sometimes you really, really need to make sure that when you're watching things like that and you like it, you need to take a step back and go, do I really want this? And do I know why I want this? It's always important to ask yourself that even though sometimes you want the same thing that you're seeing that's projected around you, you need to really, really search deeply and go and think about what your motivation is, because we can all want similar things, but our motivation for wanting it can be very different. And if you're not motivated by the thing that matters to you, your goals are not going to stick, because at some point you get to a point where you're just like, oh, I don't even care about this video anyway. Like, why am I even stressing myself? So be very, very wary of copied and pasted goals, right? There's nothing worse than that, right? So like, if you're someone who just sees stuff and then straight away you're like, that's me. You see somebody doing something, you're like, me. Like, be very careful, because you're probably setting yourself up for failure. Your goals are unlikely to stick. It's unlikely that that's going to be sustainable as well. So that's the first reason. The reason why your career goals may not stick is because they're not yours. Second one is because they are vague. The number of times, sometimes, I love Somi's example, gain new skills in solution architecture. He did not just say gain new skills. Gain new skills, like, what does that mean? Right, one of the powerful things about goals is focus. So if you don't have a goal that is focused on something, it is vague. And what that means is that you literally lose the whole point of goal setting in the first place. One of the biggest things about your goals, which we'll talk about very soon, is you need to be able to articulate it anywhere. Even if you're sleeping and then somebody wakes you up and says, what are you trying to get to? Like, what is your thing now? You need to be able to reel it off really quickly. So if you have vague goals, i.e. goals that are not specific, it's going to be very hard for you to repeat them. And what probably is going to happen is that you will say different things to different people. So today you talk to, the names of people that put their hand up are my friends. So I'm going to use your names a lot, sorry. So you'll be talking to Jane, and then you say to Jane, my goal is to gain new skills. Then the next time you see Faderi, you say, I want to just go into solution architecture. Then you talk to Fisayo, you say, I'm not even sure. I just want to be in tech. So now what you're doing is you're sowing all these seeds in so many places. Nobody really understands what you're trying to go for, because you've kept your goals just so vague. It's not specific. It's not focused. It's giving very, I don't really know where this sits. Time is flying. Gosh, okay. The next one is you keep them quiet or to yourself. Now, I talked about how you need to focus your goals so that you can repeat them, like it can reel off your tongue. Now, people say, we talked about 60% exposure as well at the beginning. Remember that. And you've probably also heard this saying of a closed mouth is a closed destiny. There's nothing worse than having a goal and not being able to vocalize it or keeping it to yourself, because you'll find 99% of the time, whatever goal you're trying to achieve, you probably need somebody to help you. You need somebody to either give you feedback or something. So there's nothing worse. Speak out. Exactly. Speak out. What's that song? Speak out. You have to talk. There's no point having career goals that will just be in your head. Okay, you want to get a promotion. Nobody knows. No, only you. You are the only person that knows in this life that you want a promotion. Why? How do you think that your boss is going to know? I'm not saying you should wake up and then run to your boss tomorrow and say, I want your job, or please receive brain. But if you have career goals, you need to find a way to articulate it. And I'll give you a very, very quick example of how this worked for me. when I was, I told you about how I worked in public relations. I'm going to just give you a really, really quick example. And the reason why this is important as well is because everybody's going about life in 2025. Nobody's going around thinking about Sandra Fisayo's goals or Jane's goals. They're just going around their own things. Everybody has their own problems that they're dealing with. So how do you keep yourself on the top of mind for everybody else, right? So there was a story when I'll just tell you this story really quickly. So I had finished my degree in Covenant University. Like I said, I really wanted to work in advertising. That was my dream, has always been my dream. It's just been a thing that I really, really wanted to do. So my mom, as usual, my mom literally loves weddings. My mom is like the ultimate Owambe queen. So she dragged me one day and said, "We're going to a wedding. I don't know the person that's getting married, neither do I know anything. I just follow." So I followed her. I remember exactly where we were. We were at the multipurpose hall in Unilag. I don't know who was getting married. I have no idea. We entered the hall. She said, "Sit down there." That's all she said. She said, "Lojoko, sit there. Go and sit down there. Put me on some kind of table. Mass come to the world." Yeah, thank you. That's my flight lead, everybody. 2007 flight lead. So she said, "Go and sit down there. Put me on this table." She went to go and greet, the people that were doing the wedding and everything. Best believe that by the time my mother came back, her daughter had a business card, and that business card was so powerful. Now, let me tell you the story. So, when my mother dropped me there, obviously, this table was full of all these men that probably looked like they were in their 60s and above. As a Yoruba girl that I am, "Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir." Image. Right now, some people are on this call. You graduated, and maybe I don't mean to stereotype. I'm sorry, but I like talking about Gen Zs because I have personal experience, and I just want to call it out a little bit. I like to make a point. So sorry if you feel attacked, but you want to be a Gen Z. You go to a table. You are the youngest person on that table. Even if you're not the youngest person on the table, you met some people on that table. You just come and you just sit down and just be like, "Baddie, like, what are you doing? What are you doing to yourself? Greet, just say hi." I know, so you should kneel down like you're a bad girl. Just say hi. So I said, "Good afternoon, sir. Good evening, sir. Good afternoon. Please, can I sit down here, sir?" Just do. And I sat down. What am I doing? Image. And I'm not trying to, this was not me trying to be fake, right? Naturally, I think I am quite a respectful person. I will greet people naturally. So this is not me even trying to form or anything. Greeted, sat down. This man now turned to me and said, "How are you? How are you, my dear?" And I'm like, "I'm fine, sir. Sir." And then he said, "Kilo Nshe, what are you doing?" And I said, I've just been redeployed from Delta State. I'm looking for an advertising company that will work in, but I'm still searching. That's my goal, right? That's my career goal. At this point, I didn't know that that's what I was doing, but that's what was happening. So I was like, "I'm looking for an advertising company." And I said, "Kilo, what did you read? What did Kilo study?" I said, "Mass comm." And he said, "From where?" I said, "Covenant." He said, "From Covenant University?" I said, "Yeah. I was like, "Yeah." So, again, image. Whether you like it or not, and I don't know how many people are on this call that are actually from CU. I think we might have some landmark people in the house, but sometimes there's a lot of image that you carry over from entities and you carry over from organizations. Claim that if you really, really don't know. From Covenant University, definitely, there is some kind of air about being a CU child and a landmark child as well. Dare I say so. If you're from other universities, there's also air from Unilag and everything. But I'm from Covenant University, so that's my experience. So I said Covenant University, was like, "Oh, you did well." I was like, yeah. So anyway, we had that conversation. But mind you, I don't know who this person is. I'm not reacting in this way to this particular person because I know that the person is influential. I just know that this is a table at a wedding that my mother told me to sit down, right? That's all I know. So we talked, and then he said, I think he was quite impressed. It was just like, then I think I must have said how old I was as well. It was like, you're a very smart girl. I was like, yeah, it's okay. So this man just said, "You know what?" He now brought out his business card and signed. This old school, like Nigeria, this thing, signed. And he said, "Take this card, go to Insight, tell them I sent you. Go and look for this man and tell him that I sent you." When he said the name, I was like, "You know him?" Remember, I loved advertising. So I knew at that point everybody that I needed to know advertising. At least I could recognize their name, right? So when he said that name, I was like, oh, I know him, this is the leader of one of the biggest advertising brands, Insight Communications. If you know Insight, they're probably one of the best advertising agencies in Nigeria. So he gave me this business card and said, take it, go and when you go to the man, tell him that I sent you, he will sort you out. So I was like, thank you. My mother came back and, after greeting, she now saw me with business card. She was like, what's going on? And the man was now hyping me that your daughter is so smart. This thing, I've sent her, to go and meet this man. She'll get. So in my mind, I was just like, okay, interesting. In this whole process, nobody has asked me for my CV. Nobody has asked me for my cover letter. Nobody has asked me to do aptitude test. Nobody has asked me to do anything. But I have this this business card. I'm going to move on really quickly because of time. But long story short, I take this business card. I go to the office. I wait, to see the man. And I speak to him again because this man sees somebody else's business card. He's like, okay, that's fine. I'll send you to this place. That's how I ended up in PR, long story short, and he said, okay, we don't have vacancies here, but I'll send you to our PR company. I went to the PR company. As soon as I now want to give me his business card, I should go and give this guy his business card. I went there. And I'll never forget this guy, my boss at the time, right? When I went and I said, I was sent by this person to get this job, he was like, I don't need a copper. I don't want a copper. Da, 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 da. This man, that was the image he had of me at first. It was like, I don't need this person. But if you go and check my LinkedIn today, one of my biggest and my most glowing recommendations was left by this person who said they didn't need a copper. And he left this review after I had left the company, like months and months after. So that's just to show you that if you vocalize your goals and you open your mouth, right, help will find you. There's something about speaking what you want into existence because you just don't know who's listening. You don't know if this man, I later found out that this man was like in politics and whatever, but you don't know who around you is listening. You don't know who around you can help. You don't know who in Kuala is able to support you. You don't know. So open your mouth. Once you have that goal, speak it into existence. And then the last one really quickly before we wrap up really quickly is sometimes your goals are limited to the company that you work for. One of my best mentors in life told me, be loyal to your career, not the company that you work for. A lot of us create goals that are based around the company that we work for. Bad idea because, excuse me, sometimes your company's goals will not match your goals, right? Sometimes your company is trying to do certain things that don't align with you. And I'll give you another personal example. There was a time I was working in a company, I'm not going to mention the name. I became a specialist. I don't know how I became a specialist, but again, to show you that it's possible to transition your career, I became a specialist so much that they didn't want to let me go. So I could have been writing all the I want to get promoted that I like. I could have been writing it, but the company said, this girl must stay here. This place that you are is where we want you to be. So it didn't matter what my personal goals were. My goals and the company's goals did not align. I wanted growth. They wanted me to be static. So always think, are my goals, or are they the company's goals? Or am I creating goals that are aligned to the company and not myself? Always think about that because you need to also give your goals expression outside the place that you exist. Remember I said that there's no perfect dream job. Sometimes you'll get 50% or 60% of what you want from your career or your current company. Sometimes you can find the other things elsewhere. So have that at the back of your mind and make sure that you're not doing that. Thank you so much for the engagement in the chat. We're going to wrap up really, really quickly. So I've talked about a lot of things that can go wrong. I've talked about hard truths. Now let's end on a positive, right? So how are we going to get this whole thing right? How are we going to get this to a point where in 2025, we don't make those mistakes. We acknowledge those hard truths, however hard they are. How do we make sure that we ensure that our goals are sticking? So I came up with this thing called the G.A.M.E plan. It's just an acronym. I like it because it's fun and it's memorable as well. So it'll help you remember what they stand for. So this for me is a solution on how we're going to win in 2025. So it's called the G.A.M.E plan. And I'll tell you what all of the words stand for really, really quickly. But I think if you use this, you're going to create sticky goals for your career that will help you, really, really help you advance, right? And I'm not saying this is not going to change you because some people, when you start to talk about career goals, they're like, oh, I don't want to become a different person now. Don't worry. It's not about you becoming a different person. It's actually you evolving into the person that you need to be. That's what it's all about. So let's go into this game plan, and then we'll take questions really quickly. So G stands for goals, right? So like Sami said, some of us might want to gain new skills in solution architecture. Some of us might want to become thought leaders in certain topics. Some of us might want to gain a promotion to X role by X date, right? The whole point of your G in the game plan is that you clarify what you want to achieve. Start by making sure that it's clear, meaningful. Some of you have heard about the SMART, framework. Make sure that you have a fixed and specific time frame. There's nothing worse than just saying, I want to do something, and you don't have an end date. When you don't have an end date, it just means that that thing can roll over and over and over again. So you basically cannot end, right? So in this point, I want to make sure that you're defining what the overarching, big career win is. For example, you want to earn a promotion as an example. Make sure that it has recall factor, because remember, you're going to have to repeat this, because you just might be at a wedding where there might be somebody there that will have a business card that can help your destiny. So remember that it needs to be short, concise, straight to the point, and very actionable. Make sure that you're breaking it down into smaller specific objectives. So in order to get this promotion, as an example, you might want to go on a leadership training course, right? By March 2025. Also, you need to ensure that your career goals align with your values and your aspirations. I talked about being loyal to your career and not your company. Very, very important. So always think about yourself. What are my values, right? There are some of us whose career goals might be that we need to leave a place that we're working in. I'm not asking you to quit your job and just stand up and quit, right? But you need to have a plan. You might find that maybe the place that you're in now does not really, really help you in terms of your values and your aspirations. It might be that the wage that you're earning right now does not align with what you really, really want to be. So make sure that you're thinking about what your values are and what your aspirations are. And like I said before, throw it out there, right? Look for a way to throw it out in the universe. We have such a safe community here in Kuala where nobody is really judging you necessarily. I can come here and talk about a topic, right? So if you want to be a thought leader, how about that topic you want to be a thought leader on? How about you take a bold step, reach out to Bayo, who is our VP Careers, who introduced this call, and said, you know what, I'm working towards remember our goals, I'm working towards being a thought leader in the area of blah, blah, blah. If you're ever looking for somebody to come and host a career power series, I'm available. That's an example of how you throw stuff out there so that you attract your helpers, because your helpers are out there. Whether you like it or not, they're there. If you like, you keep it to yourself. Your helpers will go and help somebody else. So homework for you on that sheet of paper that I said you should have next to you. I want you to write down your top 3 goals, career goals for 2025. So do that on the side, thinking about the things I've just shared. Next thing, so I said game plan. G stands for goals. A is for actions. Just like Sami, he wants to gain new skills in solution architecture. So what's he going to do to help him hit that, right? He's going to identify small actionable steps that will help him towards that. Another example of a goal you might have is that I want to expand my network, and an action that you might want to take towards that is that you want to reach out to 5 new LinkedIn contacts every Thursday. That's a very, very simple action that you can take today. Nothing is stopping you from doing that. In order to make sure that you're actually, stepping up to those actions and keeping yourself accountable, how about you use tools like your calendar on your phone? You're on your phone almost 24 hours most times. Set calendar reminders. I have a calendar reminder on my phone, 7 p.m. every day, to reflect on the day, right? Because I know I'm going to forget. So every single day, 7 p.m., a thing pops up for me and it just says, reflect on today. What went well? What didn't go well? What can you do better? It's amazing what that reminder has led to. Sometimes it's led me to really rethink and go, I could have done this thing slightly differently. Sometimes it's like, I was a bit, this on this thing, but I'm happy I did that because actually this person needed that, right? So sometimes having that prompt in front of you to just, I like when the thing just pings up and goes, ta-da! Set that action on your calendar today so that it reminds you on what you need to do when you need to do it. right? The other one that you need to do in terms of action, some of you might want certain things in your careers, but again, you're not speaking out. So your action might look like speaking up when you're catching up with your stakeholders, when you're doing those one-to-ones, update them on how you're doing, on the actions you're doing towards the thing. So it's not enough for you to go and tell your boss, I'm interested in exploring, a promotion or something like that. You also have to own the responsibility of updating that person to let them know what you are doing towards that. Because sometimes, remember I said your boss is not your friend or your family member. So your boss is not going to be sat there and will go, someone even told me that I wanted to gain a promotion. Sandra said she wanted to get promoted. Okay, let me be thinking about that because Sandra is my friend. Nah, you're lucky if you have a boss like that, but that's not the norm. It's not the norm. Many bosses will not do that. So it's your responsibility to pull that boss in a room when you do your weekly one-to-ones or your monthly one-to-ones to say, hey, person, Kini, thank you so much for your support in my career. But just to keep you abreast, let me tell you what I'm doing towards this as well. Last week I downloaded 4 job descriptions and I was reading against these job descriptions and I was weighing myself, where do I fit? Let them know, because the more they know, the better it is. Okay, I'm going to jump really quickly because of time. So remember, our first to do was that you write your goals. Next to those goals, I want you to write one action, one step that you'll be taking this week to achieve that goal. So if your goal was promotion, what action are you taking? If your goal was expand your network, what action are you taking? Please write that down really, really quickly. Okay. Next thing, so we're still on the game plan. We talked about G being goals, A being action. Now we're on M, measurement. I work in product management. It's all about measurement. If we can't measure anything, there's really no point to doing it, right? And I'm going to bring that attitude here as well, because I think what you don't measure, you don't, there's a phrase that I forgot. What you don't measure, you don't monitor or something like that. I can't remember. But you have to measure to see how you're progressing. Right? So you might have metrics like, how often am I completing these tasks? Am I doing what I need to do monthly? So for example, you might say, okay, I want to expand my network by reaching out to 5 LinkedIn contacts every week. Are you measuring if every week you're actually doing 5? Or this week, did you do 3? Next week, maybe you did 10. The next week, you did 2. You need to measure, because what that might show you is actually 5 was maybe a very low number, or maybe 5 was too high for you, right? And you need to adjust. So measuring your progress against your goals is very important in metrics point so that you can monitor the efforts that you're putting in. There's also a feel-good element that comes up as well when you do this, because there's something in your mind that happens when you tick completed or you tick a green tick next to things. So this is also a way that you can help yourself create goals that stick. If again you're tech inclined, use visual tools. There's so much out there. There's Trello. Again, your calendar is your best friend. There are journals. There are so many things that you can do. There are habit tracker apps that you can download to just help yourself track these things, because life gets busy. So if you don't track these things, you will forget. If you don't have measurement frameworks in place, you will forget. So that is M. So another to do again, remember this our sheet of paper that's in front of you. I've asked you to write your top 3 goals for 2025. I've also asked you to write an action next to each of those goals. So right now, if you've been following me, you should have 3 goals, or maybe 1, just to start with. And we're focusing on our career today, right? If you want to do other goals, you can, but today's topic is career. So hopefully you've written 1 career goal, at least 1 or 3. You've written at least 1 action per goal. And now we're going to write the metrics, right? Write a very specific metric next to each of those action items that will help you monitor your progress towards achieving that goal. And finally, so game plan, we had G for goals, A for action, M for measurement, E for enjoyment. There is nothing worse in this life than you struggle, you work. You don't have any enjoyment. Why? It's not good. In this, our game plan, we're going to enjoy, because it's been proven, and even there are statistics out there that prove that when you reward yourself, you're more ginger to do more. Okay, so in our game plan in 2025 to help our career, we're going to celebrate success, no matter how small. We're going to build in rewards along the way. We're going to celebrate our achievements, whether they are big or small, because we want to maintain momentum. We want to maintain that motivation that will help us get to the end of this goal. So we're going to define personal rewards that we're going to celebrate, right? Whenever we hit a milestone or we action X number of whatever it is that we've set, we're going to reward ourselves. Rewards can look like anything, like taking a day off, spa day, whatever it is you want to do, ordering takeout, having a cheat meal. It doesn't have to be anything big, right? So whenever we do the things that we need to do, we're going to create enjoyment in the bracket, right? And we're going to enjoy ourselves. For the days that you don't do what you should have done, please don't enjoy because you didn't, right? G stands for goals. A is for actions, M is for measurements, and E is for enjoyment. Chinenye. So basically, this will help you stay on top of your goal. It'll help you build momentum. It'll help you really, really take time to celebrate, the wins that you've achieved, and it will help you go further in terms of your goals. So back to this paper that you should have goals, actions, how you're going to measure, and what you are going to enjoy. So think about what is one meaningful reward that you will give yourself when you achieve goal number 1. You can put a few there. So you can have spa day, taking a day off, cheat meal, order takeout, whatever it is that means something to you, write it down and stay true to that reward, right? It might just be you taking an extra 1 or 2 hours in bed, right? Because sometimes that's all you need. So that is the game plan. Quick recap for Chinenye as well as everybody. G stands for goals. We're going to define clear, meaningful goals with a fixed time frame. Actions, because we're going to simplify our goals by dividing them into weekly or monthly tasks. Measurements, because we need to monitor the efforts and ensure that we're moving towards the goals. And enjoyment, because we have to celebrate success. There's nothing worse than, working and not enjoying yourself. And this is an example, right? So imagine if my goal was earn a promotion by June 2025. Some of my actions might look like research job descriptions, like I said, do a gap analysis between what those job descriptions for the role that I want are versus where I am. And I want to do that by February 2025 because I need time between February and June to act. I might want to go on a leadership training program by March 2025 because maybe the role that I'm applying for is a leadership position. I'm going to measure it by making sure I'm checking how many tasks I have completed. And I'm going to hit a milestone when I know that I am on the high performance list. Please, if you are working in an organization, please believe that there is something called high performance list. And some people's names are not there. So one thing you better know is, are you on that list? If you really, really want promotion in that office and you're not on this list, you are just dreaming. You are dreaming. So that's a milestone. And you can check with your boss if you think I'm lying. How am I going to enjoy? I'm going to go to Bali because why not? I'm going to do something else. It depends. That's one example. Okay, another example here, which I'll show you a live example for, because some of us, we really, really, especially for us Nigerians, Africans, we struggle in the image department. We need to do better in image. Some of you, you don't even know. In fact, first of all, you don't even have any image because today you are nice, tomorrow you are not nice, today you are quiet, tomorrow you're not quiet. So there's no like conscious image forming in people's minds of you. So some of us, we might need to actually gain a clear understanding of how colleagues perceive us. How can we do group? See, if this qualify, nothing is impossible, Fisayo. Nothing is impossible. Last year, went to Morocco. Just say the word. If you want to go to Bali, we have a partner, Trip Cooks. They organize it. So let's do WhatsApp group after this. I'm ready. So back to this. If some of us might want to work on our image this year, right? So you might want to gain a clear understanding of how colleagues perceive you at work, because remember, perception trumps reality. However you look at it, the perception people have of you at work will always trump your reality. And some actions that you might want to take towards this is self-assessment. Have you assessed your own self? To say, even me, myself, how do I see myself, right? You might want to come up with a feedback format. I have one that I use when I'm asking for feedback. My format looks like, give me 3 words that you think of when you think of me. You see, that question I ask is a mind-blowing something. The response I always get is wild. 3 words when you see me or you think of me. Just tell me 3 words. I always get the best feedback. I also ask, I'm thinking of a very specific scenario. Tell me some things I do well. Think of a very specific scenario. Tell me how I can be better. I'm forcing people to think of, not just give me, oh, I think you can be nicer. No, to give me the scenario. So when you are talking to this person during this project, I felt that something, something, something. That's kind of feedback that I need. So that's what I ask for. Actively seek feedback from your colleagues. That might be something that would help you gain this. Analyze the feedback to see whether you have themes, right? And I'll show you an example from my personal story as well. And you also see areas for improvement as well. You might want to attend workshops or training sessions that are focused on personal branding or professional image. In terms of measurement, you might count the number of feedback sessions that you've received. You might want to measure the common themes that you've identified, like, is it growing? Are you seeing trends? And I'll show you one of mine, like literally live example. For every maybe 5 feedback calls that you book in, you might want to take yourself to the spa, because some of the feedback, and please don't be afraid of asking for feedback. A lot of people see feedback as a bad thing. From my experience, when I ask for feedback, people are not as horrible when you force them to write stuff. They have to actually think of good things to say as well as bad things if they have any bad things to say. So from my experience, I often get a lot of great feedback in terms of strengths that I didn't even know that I had, right? So sometimes some people even tell me, oh, you're really good at this thing. Did you know you were good at this thing? They'll also point out things I can be better at, right? But half the time when I ask for feedback, I end up with more strengths than things that I need to work on. So don't be afraid. So you might want to say, okay, if I've been brave enough to ask 5 people for feedback, on the 5th one, on the 10th one, on the 15th one, I'm going to go for a spa day. Why not do that? Or maybe you want to go kart racing or whatever. So this is an example from my actual thing. So forgive the layout, but we have something in work. We call it the JDI framework, which stands for Judgment, Drive, Initiative, right? And I've only just pulled out, so you can see what I mentioned things here. So within this framework, people have to rank you against each of these questions: high, medium, or low. And you can see I asked 5 people. This is just an excerpt of 5 people that I asked. Against all of these things here, everybody consistently rated me as high. So this is telling me that people are telling me I quickly understand what needs to be done and I do it. They think I'm committed to achieving high standards, which I fully agree with, which is one of the reasons why some people don't like me. Because if you are in my team, we are doing rubbish, we are going to fight. That's my brand and I stand by it. If you don't like it, you can go to another place. They also say I consistently work hard. They say, I want to have a bigger impact beyond my core work. They have faith in my ability to deal with problems. So with me, people are not afraid to come and tell me there's a problem because they know I'll fix it. They know I'm keen to develop my skills and my way of doing things. They say I'm great at, breaking down problems into small chunks. They say I'm able to take the best bit of, other people's ideas and include them in my own thinking. They say, I take responsibility. I don't want to read all of these things, but this is an example of how you can kind of get themes from what people are thinking of you. And it's not about going to your best friend. Some of these people are my senior, right? Because those are the opinions that count. Those are the people that will be in the room when we're talking about promotions or whatever it is, right? So you need to think of how can I get exposure to these people enough for me and them to work together so that they have an opinion of me. And this is the trend, right, that I saw with mine. Of course, there are other things that I need to work on, which some people just said, I don't know. You can see this person started with blank and eventually they moved to high because at that time we hadn't worked together. So they said, I'm not aware of whether or not you do this thing, but everybody else was. So that's one example. I'm going to wrap up really quickly. But in summary, everything I've said today is that you're in charge of your own career story. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. All you need to do is take that first step today. Whether that's you setting a goal, whether that's you turning your goals into actions, whether that's you measuring the actions that you're taking, whether that's you taking enjoyment steps, I want you to believe truly that you are in charge of your career and you can make 2025 amazing for yourself. If you really, really want to, you just need to take that step. So before we close, I'm going to tell you how can I help? Because I'm really, really passionate. This is one thing that I'm massively big on when it comes to career growth, career, improvement. It's something that I really, really, really want to help people do because I just think, why be mediocre when you can be great? I don't see why anybody needs to be mediocre. So I've put together something called a workbook. It's just an Excel spreadsheet on Google Sheets, nothing fancy, but just to help you keep track of everything that we've said. Using this framework game plan, you can download that here using this bit.ly link. I'm going to put it in the chat. So if you would like, something like a workbook to just help you think about your goals, think about your actions, visit that link and you can download it now. If you're somebody who feels a little bit like, oh, all these things are nice, but next week I'm gonna forget. I need somebody to be checking in with me every week or every month or whatever. I've set up this WhatsApp group. I'm gonna play it by ear just to see how popular it is. But we're gonna have a look and see if it's popular. I've set up a WhatsApp group. If you feel like you need a sense of community, my plan at the moment is that once every month I'm gonna open up the group, because there's nothing worse than a noisy WhatsApp group. So this is not gonna be a noisy group. I'll lock the chat. Once every month, we're going to check in and see how we're doing against those actions. So if you feel like you're someone who likes community, so that you feel like you're doing stuff together this year, join this. And we are going to close it. Once, in fact, December, I was talking to my friend and he said, this thing must not be open beyond December, because if by November you have not already done your goal, you're a joker. So we're going to close that group November, December 2025. This group is for people who are serious about actually achieving their goals. So please go ahead and join if you do feel like you need a sense of community. You might be a DIY person who's just happy with this. Don't feel the need to join. It's okay if you don't need it. And then finally, some people are just like, all these things you say, I still don't know where to start. I don't even know what my career is like. Oh my God, I don't know where to start. So maybe your goals need a bit of TLC. You can book a consultation. I'm going to try and do as many 15 to 30-minute consultation sessions that I can do to help you get to a point where you have goals, actions, ways to measure, and we'll come up with your enjoyment plan, because that's the real deal. If you don't reward yourself, you will not move forward. And for you to get that, find me on LinkedIn. I'm very, very vocal on LinkedIn. So if you search for me, you'll find me. I'm at Shea Ayinla. If you find me and you feel like you need TLC, please send me a DM. Also leave me a recommendation. If you feel like you've enjoyed today, put a post on your wall or whatever, and just tag me. Let me know if you're going to try this game plan, and let's all win together. Thank you so much. That is bang on time.